Well, I saw you over in North Carolina with a bunch of young people.
That's
So
right.
maybe you can let me know about that a little bit.
Yeah. So we were off like what, a week or two, but I think our world saving held us over for a few weeks. So I think saving the world, which is the name of the podcast.
Yeah, you got to take time to do the work.
Yeah, right. But I think we had saved enough of the world that we could take a week or two off.
That's great.
I think that's important.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a little downtime.
Right. Yeah, I was in North Carolina and meeting up with. There's a group of just young musicians. We've talked about Paycheck before, but Paycheck has now moved into a house with a bunch of music producers and artists, creators, and they've just been super cool to me just to kind of let me tag along and just look to see what they're doing. What are 18, 19, 20, 23-year-olds doing right now to like make a career in music? And so I'm watching it. How are they doing it? You know, some things are still very, very much the same, right? You get 5 dudes and you live somewhere and you split that rent, you know, so some things never change. Someone's got the floor or the couch or the closet, you know. But I mean, trying to understand their process and just from like even like a producer standpoint, these like young creatives, and they just put themselves out there, and it's like, you know, $50 for a beat, you know, 100 and something for an exclusive, and like 150 for all that plus all the stems.
Right.
You know, so like watching that hustle and then watching them also figure out how to kind of game the system, because they're the ones watching. They're the ones now teaching me about how do you get on Spotify playlists and how those things are being curated. And what I'm seeing right now, which gets me super excited, is this next generation has kind of figured out through an almost open source system like Spotify, how do you start curating playlists
for
whatever, let's say lo-fi hip hop beats.
Yeah.
Okay. And they curate an audience there that's got 8 million people following.
So that's part of the hustle.
Yeah.
Is getting a playlist that other people want to jump on your playlist. I mean, I listen to lo-fi hip hop. Sure. There's that animated girl on YouTube. You ever check out that?
No, I haven't.
Anyway, it's like I don't know if it's one guy who does that, but he's got a pretty huge amount of followers, and it's actually they do a live. Like I don't know how they do that. I feel like I'm old. Someone's just going to chime in.
But I think this is the point.
It's like some kind of live playlist.
No one's old. I mean, I think this is what's so exciting about it, right? Like no one's old, and I think if you are old, you kind of, we talk about pattern recognition and go, oh, I understand what this is, and that's what I saw out there being with these guys and talking with them. I was like, wait a minute, so if you do the work and you build an audience with a playlist on Spotify, you're now becoming the new radio station.
Yeah, well, I guess that is the radio station, right?
But I mean,
yeah,
Spotify's the radio, right? What playlists are doing right now and what an 18-year-old can start doing is curating. Like,
well, you're the tastemaker, you're the maven, and that brings it
globally, not just the LA scene. You're not Rodney on the Rock, KROQ, and whatever. You know, you're not Dr. Demento doing funny things and Weird Al. Like you can start to curate the world. That I'm watching these guys. I'm watching I want to say kids. They're not kids, but they are to me in one sense. I'm watching them play in their sandbox, but this sandbox that they're figuring out that they're playing in is global. I mean, it's insane.
Well, yeah, there's no. I mean, yeah, the limits of terrestrial radio are over,
right.
Of course. Although I am actually excited about terrestrial radio, but I am into like weird stuff.
Yeah, well, no, I think
esoteric stuff. But
no, I think there's absolutely I think there's absolutely a place.
It seems like there's a great potential resurgence going to be happening into getting your own pirate radio station or something like that. That may actually happen.
Yeah, well, there was, and I remember it didn't seem like it was that long ago. One of the big dudes that left one of the telecommunications companies, he was selling like a box that you could stick outside in front of your house, and it grabbed the digital signals.
Like what, Sirius radio or whatever?
No, like TV, like digital TV, like all that's still floating through the air on some level.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you get an antenna right now, sure.
Right? But it was the equivalent of the antenna.
Yeah.
Which is a weird concept, right? Because if you have an antenna, you don't have to pay for anything, right? You have an antenna.
Well, I mean,
you would understand this way more than me.
Yeah, I mean, you can get a digital TV antenna right now, right, and just get whatever's on broadcast, still HD. If you can get it, that's the problem. Is that like you can't, like out here, there's not a lot of it's just harder to get. Like,
but in like a city, you can, right?
Yeah. You can get a bunch of stuff still. But so you're saying these kids are one of the angles, one of their sales angles is to they're a tastemaker, they're a maven for a particular genre, whatever the case is, and they're just making playlists because it's like, hey, I want that producer's playlist. Is that how it is? It's like
either or, right? Or
dude beats. You want his playlist.
You want to get on there because there's going to be X amount of people. I even pull some stuff up to show.
Oh, so it's crowd, like there's people on it. Like active, like you're like, hey, we got 400 people listening right now.
Yeah, like
is that what it is?
Stuff like that, dude. Just look at that. I won't show that on the camera.
Okay,
but like, that's like
those are good numbers, especially for a month.
Yeah, right. I mean, so that's like 672,000 people, individuals, not streams, but people listening to that playlist. Now this opens up what is payola now. You know, like how do you get your stuff played? But the relationships I'm watching right now, I'm watching this next generation hijack the system.
Yeah,
that's what I get excited about.
So I'm guessing too. Okay, so if these guys are doing it, I mean, one thing, like I've said before, is that I really enjoy synergistic energy.
Yeah,
you do too. I mean, you probably like it more than most people I actually know. But like, it's always cool for me to see kids who are, when I say kids, whatever, 18 to 30, whatever. I mean, with a lot of heart and a lot of hard work, and are willing to go out there and kind of chase their thing, knowing that it's probably going to suck for a while. Or just to say, or they're not living their necessarily best, or maybe it will be the best years. We'll find out.
Yeah, well, yeah, right.
But I'm sure it's going to be great because I mean that's how Henry Rollins talks too. It's like I was in this.
Yeah, I was in the van.
I was in
the van.
Yeah, I was in the van, or I was living in some crappy apartment in Venice Beach, and you know, whatever. Those are the glory days.
Did you ever read all of his like poetry, like books and kind of journals?
I never got any of his books. I don't
like the journal. Did you?
No,
any of his journals?
No, but I'm actually interested. I've listened to a lot of his spoken word stuff. Yeah. But I haven't bought any of his books or whatever the case is, but I would love to. I mean, I I usually get excited when I'm listening to him. I don't care for his politics or whatever nowadays, but I mean, his anecdotes are awesome, and he's probably one of the best speakers, like ever. Like he's an amazing deliverer.
Have I told you my Henry Rollins story yet?
No,
because I get to tell fun stories.
Of
People
course.
like I just talking to someone, they go, "I can't wait to see what story you share with Steve on the next podcast."
I'd love to hear.
I realize it's becoming like somehow you draw out the weird stories I had forgotten about, and I forgot I have a Henry Rollins story. I was catching a red eye out of LAX, and there's no one in LAX. I'm checking in, and I look, and I was like, that's Henry Rollins in front of me. And he literally had a pair of black sweats on, shoes, a shirt, and like the tiniest backpack. Like, maybe had another pair of underwear and shirt in it.
Japanese schoolgirl.
Like, and he was going on. I was like, where are you? And I'm looking, I go, man, I got to say something. And he turns around, he's walking. I go, Henry, big fan. Just thank you for all the stuff that you've done. I kind of like piddled out.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he went, okay, thank you. And he turned and he walked away. And what I thought was interesting, and I don't mean this in a negative way, he kind of sashayed away. It was a little curvy, it was a little hippie. Like it had like it wasn't like this military, it was kind of a little swishy. I have no idea why that sticks out, but like it wasn't like a tight, firm.
Well, he seems pinned up. In fact, I think that's actually one of his things he talks about, is that he is learning how to process his anger.
Right.
And usually when I'm angry, I'm not fluid.
Right.
I'm just saying, I mean, so it's got to be interesting to be like, yeah, why are you a dancer?
Right. And I was like, it was Henry Rollins. But, that's living in L.A. and flying out of LAX, every flight in or out, especially late at night. I remember, it's not so much now, but there was a time like in the 2000s, man, you'd get off on a flight and TMZ was everywhere just trying to track down somebody coming in from a flight, or like it was just chaos. There's just always TMZ reporters and everything. I don't know if it's like that anymore, but I remember in the 2000s it was like that.
Well, I'm sure things have changed since they hooked up security a lot differently.
Yeah, probably.
You used to be able to do a lot of different things. I remember in youth group we could do like find somebody in the airport, right? And you can just be walking around the airport, whatever, and like not care, be out the gates or whatever the case is, and pull the microphone actually from behind the stands and call your buddy out. But
we
no longer have
all
that
to say, I'm watching this next generation and just trying to absorb as much as possible in regards to how they have grown up with access to all this stuff. And
you mean access to the internet, particularly?
Internet, but access to people and, like, look, and these aren't like bot things, but like I'm not throwing out names here, but I just think it's fascinating that like what strikes you about this? I was hanging with this dude.
I'm looking at a phone right now.
What strikes you about that profile?
Well, I mean, you have that many followers with one picture,
right?
Is that what you're talking about? Now, it's a good picture too. I don't know if I want to. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah,
exactly.
Blue check verified, 15,000 people.
Well, it's baller, right? I mean, it's kind of. I mean, maybe you're not even trying to do it. Well, but Paycheck was that way too. He didn't have much going on, or even what it wasn't that curated or that interesting.
Right.
But that is kind of baller, right? You want to have more followers than you have.
Right.
Whatever. That just says something about you, right?
But that's just. But now I'm watching. Look, like, I have my take on how people should be doing things, communicating content, all that. But I'm also watching this next generation coming up. And I'm looking to see what they're doing, how they're doing it, and why are they doing it that way.
So that's this is a segue right to this, but I think this is actually a really interesting question. They're trying to understand this because you do promote volume. I'm not going to say you don't produce over. I'm not saying you don't want the good stuff or you don't want, but I mean, and you and I are similar in that. Like, I don't really believe that you have to wait a really long time before you start creating any content. Like, start making content today.
Right. Yeah.
And you'll learn on the job in a lot of ways.
Right.
But you see something like this.
Right.
You see, I've got an okay amount of followers for my synth business.
Yeah, you do.
But my interaction percentage,
right,
I think kind of sucks, actually.
Right.
And so I know also by just sheer numbers, like totally different industries, you and I. But I'd say like you've got a lot more interaction than I do. Like you get a lot more interested followers and people who are actually interacting with your content a lot more than I do.
Maybe.
Well, I mean that's whatever. I mean that's my view of it. Like as far
I think
as
you have to curate. But I think you have to curate conversation. You have to curate that sort of stuff. I mean, there's, it's like getting invited to do a couple great opening gigs somewhere, and you play in front of 5,000 people or 3,000 people, and you get 2 shows back to back. So what? Did you do anything to curate that fan base?
Yeah, are you utilizing the reactions you've gotten?
And I think the last couple of years, there were people who just were able to get on some platforms and build an audience pretty quickly because organic reach was more open and easier. But the curation of that, to me, that's still what it comes, down to. Now I'm watching with these guys, and he'll post 2 or 3 pictures, 4 pictures, and then he'll just start taking them away, back down to 1. And then
interesting.
Yeah. So I'm gathering information right now, and also looking to see where does being cool and where does kind of something that's interesting eventually meet commerce when you make a living. Like, it's fun to do all that right now.
Right. Because guys who are obviously, look at a guy like, whatever, I don't know the profile of Paycheck as well as you by any means, or these guys in their cadre, but they're selling stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, these beat makers are doing something, or at least they're making somewhat of a living. Paycheck seems to be doing good enough on his streaming and whatnot that he's doing that it's working out for him. What is what do you think the big catalyst in what those guys are doing besides, is it energy? Is it togetherness? The fact that they've kind of got this team? Are they really positive? Do they are they going for it? Are they working really hard every day? What are the things that you're gleaning from them and you're saying, hey, these are some things that I could either learn from or I could tell other people about?
I think the number one thing right now is I'm still just collecting the data through my friendships with them. I'm just trying to understand what they're into and why, and do I get a sense of why they're doing what they're doing? We had a conversation yesterday, and I said, hey, I've got a couple people who I think would love to get behind what you guys are doing. I just said, what, do you guys want to just jump in the car and can you book like 10 house shows across the country? Just 10 houses and play some houses and hang out with people and just do like a get in your car drive tour, And, okay, I think, we could do, we're kind of talking about it. But one of the guys was like, that might be too intimate. I'm not like, I could maybe do a show and 100 people. Like I'd feel comfortable. Not that I could pull 100 people, he was saying, but like, I'd be like, that seems really intimate to just pull up somewhere and be like, we're going to play a living room.
Like that's too like low for them. Too not.
No, it was more fear.
Like the people just being around. Yeah. Like 30 people or something might be weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And so my takeaway yesterday from that call is like, oh, that's really interesting. Like I know some people that would put the money up to sponsor something like that. And it wasn't like, dude, you mean someone will pay for us to go on the road and go? Like, I mean, let's go. It's like those are the people I knew, and I know those people are out there. But I was watching. What I was trying to take in was, okay, this is totally different because you have a generation right now that's coming up that has the ability to create stuff, make stuff. They're building an audience. They're actually making money. There's a different component than just, but will you get in the van and go?
Well, they have a different avenue. I think back in the day is nobody didn't have an avenue. I mean, I remember watching
That's why you went on the road.
Well, right. Well, there was no way to get your music out.
There's no way, right? So that's the takeaway. I was like, oh yeah, like in my mind, I'm like, who? But here's the funny flip side of that. They said, well, what if we did 10 shows across the country or 5 shows across the country? And they were more like artist retreats where we got a bunch of artists to meet places at houses to hang out, talk about music, perform stuff for each other, talk about the music. Now, they said we could do, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I like this. Like I like where they started going with it. Like, what if we got 50 people per house that were all people doing what we're doing? And this is what blew my mind.
Promoting community.
Yeah. Creating. And like, but what threw me off was I said, well, are you, I mean, if I get one of my clients to finance it, sponsor it.
Right.
Are you cool with, I mean, would everyone, I thought the answer was no. I thought there's no way everyone's going to be like, yeah, we'll give shout outs to that company or draw. They were like, oh yeah, every single person will shout out that company and say thank you on their socials. And I was like, so they were prepared and they're totally willing to use their platforms to promote anyone that promotes them. Back to the playlists, promoting people working with each other, building these. So what I'm seeing now, just in the last 48 hours with some prior conversations before that, is this new generation is all about leveraging relationships and sharing and promoting all at once. Where I think 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it was like, we could do that, but no, we're not going to shout out the soda company like every post. Like,
it's an interesting thing. I wonder.
We'll have it in the background, but we're not going to be like, hey, I want to thank,
Mountain Dew.
Which, by the way, now that I'm thinking about it, like, dude, I got to see. This is the problem if you're doing so many things. I got to get you with that, dude, with your company, with
Centro sure. Tech. No, I know. I'd love to.
Oh, dude, we got to do that.
I'd love to do that. I've worked with a couple people over the years. It's been most of the it is interesting you're talking, because what you're kind of saying here is that they seem to be excited about the group promote.
Yes.
However, the thing that I've noticed, and I'm not going to, somebody I know close to home, you might actually be out there watching this. I tried doing a Beats, selling some Beats.
Okay.
Actually, not Beats, or actually, I was the one curating sort of like the synth patching and some of the gear that I have. I have some interesting, expensive, rare gear that lends itself to actually percussion. And we made a beat pack with it, and it was but the pushback I got, it's actually people really close to your home, so I'm not going to say any names.
I love it.
But like the thing is that like the pushback that I really got on it was, man, it was a pretty insular crew. Like it was like they like in the end, one of the creatives on the project didn't want to lend his name to the project, not because the project sucked. It was because it was kind of like there was a ton of protectionism, like a ton of just like oh no, this is my crew, this is kind of where we're from.
Interesting.
I can't be branching off into this kind of a thing, and it might have just been that person. I don't want.
Sure.
I don't want to say
always
it's
hard
not
to.
that,
Yeah,
like whatever.
I get you. It's always hard to make that.
And again, this guy was a brother.
Yeah.
And so it's like we didn't have like some kind of like. We weren't at odds in some kind of philosophical way or something like that, or big philosophical kind of way. But it was really interesting to me, and that's actually kind of made I've actually been more reticent, honestly, of some of that kind of stuff, and just trying to want things to flow as.
No, I'm going to post this clip, and so I'm going to say the name. I'm going to get you in touch with Stafford Beats like immediately, like within the next 24 hours. I need you working with this next generation of people that are just getting after it, and they need to know about what you're doing. So I'm excited. We're going to do that.
And there's some really other cool people I'd like to shout out to that too. There's this guy Corey who's got a product, or he does a modular boom bap style hip hop.
Modular boom.
Yeah. I think he calls his company
that.
Modular Bap, and it's so he's kind of into that KRS-One. Whatever, just boom bap stuff. Probably also, sampling can sometimes play into that too. But either which way, I'm just trying to say there's some guys who are actually taking this kind of gear that we make and trying to be really productive. And I also know some other producers, some guys actually with like Humble Beast and stuff that have used that are using. There's these guys who are actually beat producers,
right? Who
are kind of using a lot of the same gear.
Did you create Synthrotech?
Oh well, yeah, that was a business from basement in Seattle. Yeah,
you said. Like before Synthrotech, and the R throws me off because I have to get lispy.
Yeah, it's a
I have
weird
to get lispy. Synthro.
Could be synthrotic. But that's a little bit,
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
That's
how you pronounce it.
Wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
Is it really synthrotic?
No, it's Synthrotech.
It is
but
Synthrotech.
when I made it, I was just like, it can be read various ways.
Right. Okay. So
I didn't think that much about it, honestly.
So before, what is happening the hour before you create Synthrotech? What are you thinking, and how does it come into existence?
Well, it's really interesting. You like that? I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
So
letting people know, get ready.
The way that this business started, I have a hard time not turning the things that I like into business, just because I think I have to justify it.
Okay.
And being a family man and stuff and a lot of responsibilities, I'm like, dude, I can probably only work 8-10 hours a day. So I pretty much have to, like, if I like it, I've got to monetize it. And the thing is, I have no problem with that. I know a lot of people who'd be like, dude, it's still my passion, or it's like once I start working, I have never felt that way.
That's a weird dichotomy when you go down that road.
I am tickled every day that I get to do what I do,
right?
Because I like what I do. So I'm like, dude, that's great. And I make products that I couldn't either afford back in my earlier days, or I would not even have access to. So. Anyway,
but what were you thinking?
Right. I know I'm not really answering your question.
No, I'm excited. I just want to. I'm like, what did you think didn't exist, or did exist, but you wanted your own?
Yeah, it didn't. It more for me. The way it started was it was one of most of my business, I said, come out of some sort of a passion. So I was really interested in making my own handmade circuits.
Okay.
And
what does that mean?
Well, just like making like electronic circuits for audio.
Okay.
It was just really exciting to me for whatever reason at a hobby level.
And what is that? If someone doesn't understand what we're talking about,
well, it's like a circuit board, like a piece, like in these gear in the gear that we make at Synthrotech, which is audio electronics. We make some guitar pedals, And then we make most of our products are modules for modular synthesizers.
Okay.
So starting off, I wasn't making modular products, but I was making things that probably could have been put into a modular product. So basically, it was mostly just kind of like lo-fi noise stuff. So it was like my first product, right, is like the Atari Punk console, which is a really rudimentary circuit made by this guy in the early 80s or 70s.
The Atari
Punk console.
Which is just, do you still have that?
Yeah, I sell a product of it in Eurorack too. It's a rudimentary circuit. So
and what's it do?
It's like just 2 oscillators. So it makes like 8-bit sounding noise. So or like oscillation. So it makes like pitch. It makes just like
okay.
So I just thought it was really cool that I could like homebrew my own circuit boards by using you still can buy. It's kind of like photography in a certain way. Like you buy these pieces of fiberglass that have copper on them.
Okay.
And then there's various ways you can buy some paper that you basically adhere to it, and then you put it in an acid bath, and then basically what is not covered by the chemical on the paper. So one way is you'd print it up with like a laser printer. The laser printer stuff, then you can use like an iron to put it on there and whatever. It's like DIY silk screening, DIY black and white photography. It's a very similar process
to make sound.
Yeah, so then you would like use a Dremel or something, make your holes, put your components in there, solder them in,
right,
hook it up to a speaker or whatever the case is,
and then it sounds like
makes them like some people think it's like bees in a jar. Yeah. So you can just make noise, and then I realized, oh, you can also do other things where you can control that noise by other pieces of electronics. So I mean, I really did. I mean, I can say it's probably one of the most organic things I've ever come into, because I'm like, I had no scene, I knew nobody who did it. I didn't even like electronic music. Like, I didn't like love it. I had listened to Pet Shop Boys and New Order or something growing up, but I wasn't like
Yaz.
I wasn't like really into. I think I might have a Yaz record
upstairs at Eric's. Sorry,
I'm not.
How I know that. I don't know how I know that.
Like a lot of the guys who are into this scene are super into industrial music.
Yeah.
So
and is industrial still a thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has a pretty heavy 80s, early 90s.
I mean, because
like peak. Right, you know what I mean? Like you have Ministry.
Because to me, it's Ministry and it's 9 Inch Nails. It goes Ministry, 9 Inch Nails.
They're the biggest.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, and there's a lot. There's like KMFDM.
Right.
There's a lot of artists that Throbbing Gristle is a really big influence on those people, and a lot of it is sort of like. Some people want to overpromote your product. Whatever. I feel like there's always a scene, right? At least this is where I'm coming from. There's a scene, and people have done a pretty good. Maybe they have to, right? It's kind of like, I don't know how many times Eminem is. I mean, he's different. He's what a great song with Sade, right? So like, I'm like, oh, hey, this doesn't fit whatever it is I'm doing as far as my conception or the producer's conception. And then there's cool kids that you're like, well, I mean, is Fugazi ever going to play with Blink 182? They're not.
Right.
I mean, let's just be honest. They're not going to do that, largely because Fugazi still says it's only $5 to get into my show. Right. If they still play, they're still doing that. Or maybe it's $8 now because of inflation. But either way, I'm just saying you have scenes, that exist,
right? And I'm watching those, and I'm watching the new scenes develop, and because this next generation coming up, in no way, shape, or form believes they need anyone to help them reach the world.
Right.
It is completely changing.
I'm using my mic again. You should use your mic again. And the reason being is because I'm just going to capture the audio.
Great. It's completely changing.
Right.
What
do you think's changed there, though? Is it because it's a global market and you don't have to do as much for, like if you think about it, Fugazi to me is one of those, like, that era you have...
There's no pay to play. There's no pay. We grew up.
Right.
The history of music, up until right now, has all been pay to play.
Okay, just payola.
Well,
what do you mean
I grew
by
up
that?
near the Sunset Strip.
Right.
It was pay to play the Whiskey, Gazzari's, the Roxy, which was they said you can play our club. We'll charge you $500, and you get 500 tickets.
Okay.
Good luck
sure,
selling
sure,
those
sure.
tickets. You had to pay to get on that stage. You had to pay to get on the radio. You had to pay to get on tour with somebody. You had to pay to get access to people to hear your music.
Now, I think that that's probably very different than something like the DC punk scene. I could be wrong, but you know, if you look at the Black Flag, you look at Minor Threat,
Right.
You look at the early hardcore, basically,
Right.
I don't think those guys. I mean, what were house shows, DIY,
Right.
all this
Right.
stuff was part of the ethos.
Right. But they had to inherently say, screw the system,
Yeah.
screw the major labels, and screw the big concert venues. We don't need it.
So part of the ethos is also like, hell no, I'm not going to be putting Mountain Dew on my guitar case.
Of course.
Because it's like, well, these are the guys who are basically saying, I'm not in.
Right.
So it's like,
Right.
I'm not, I mean, yeah, so we're making our own thing.
Right.
Screw you.
And by the way, it's only going to get so big anyways, so you might as well just be a contrarian.
Right.
Like,
Right.
we're
right.
Fugazi. Like, we're never going to play in front of 20,000 people at some, you know, like in their mind. Now,
They
maybe-
probably
they
would
probably
and
could have. Right.
They
No,
could.
right. But
Would they do it? I don't know.
But what ends up happening, though, is you create a culture of screw everybody. This generation right now has none of that.
Well,
Because they've been able to reach the world their whole life.
Yeah, their revenue and their followers are not dependent upon like which particular cool club they're in.
Well, I would look at it this way. Outside of the DC punk scene, let's just get rid of that. That's its own anomaly. But let's just look at the club scene in
Be
general.
interesting to know Southern California though, because that would be more of the time you were there.
Yeah.
At least the second wave of punk. That
Right.
you were big in that.
But see, here's the thing. You still walked into a club to play a club and there was a bar. Unless it was some weird all ages show and they were playing something. My point being is you still walked into a club where there was a Bud Light sign.
Sure.
Right? I mean, that's just our Jägermeister by the time I got into the 90s.
Until except for DC, right? Because that's where Straight Edge comes out.
Right.
So they're
right.
like, we're not playing.
So forget that for a moment.
Right,
but
right.
everywhere you go, there was still somebody selling something where you were playing. I think that,
Somebody had to make money off
absolutely.
you playing,
and,
of course.
and
that's always the
everyone
way it
knew
is. It
that.
makes
Everyone
sense.
knew
Yeah,
that.
sure.
What I'm finding that this generation coming up right now is kind of that's baked into their understanding. They don't need anyone to convince them that they've got the connections to get you in front of 5,000
they have
people.
the access already.
They already have the access.
They know, and they know it's monetized though,
and they know it's monetized.
which is weird, right?
Right.
Because you have
Right.
to convince somebody.
But if they want to go do something and they want access to an experience or someone helping them get on the road and go do a tour or do an event, what I'm finding is they're like, that's so cool. You mean you'll come alongside us and help us get this done? We're more than happy to say, hey, shout out to Razer Gaming
Vanilla
or
Coke.
Synthrotech or
sure,
like,
yeah.
yeah. And maybe, I mean, I love when people be like, I would never do a deal with Coke. I was like, can you, like, yeah, we
you
should
would.
all be so lucky
Yeah.
that Coca-Cola is knocking on our door.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to work out too much. I might get ripped.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
You know,
big problem, buddy.
so I'm noticing now with this next generation, and I'm excited by that because that's business and art and commerce. To me, I think there's a new group right now that's coming up. I'm seeing these guys and I'm watching how they're producing beats every night and selling those beats, and it's $50 for the beat, $75 or $100 for an exclusive, and then like $150, $200 for all the stems. Like they are, if they work at night, they can sell maybe 10 of those the next day.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, $500, $600.
Well, I want to ask a couple questions here. So
That's why I'm watching these young kids. You had
sure.
said, why are you in North Carolina? Why are you meeting with these artists?
I'm not. Certainly, I'm not against it.
Oh
I
no,
think
I'm just saying
I
like
think
that's
it's awesome.
why I'm like I want to see.
No, and I know, and that's your energy, and I think that's the real thing. I wanted to make a kind of a side remark. That's something that I saw in marketing that was awesome that I want you to watch.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'll even cut it in here if
Yeah.
we do this. But so I was a couple years ago, and I saw this company called Edwin, which I think is a Japanese denim company.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Maybe they make T-shirts too. Whatever. I don't know. I think it's Japanese, and I think it's called Edwin. I at least know that. And they did this
Very Japanese.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's not. It's kind of like
I know,
rockabilly.
I love that. Well, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
But I mean, well, it has elements of, and they did a collaboration with this company called Blitz Motorcycles, which is a custom motorcycle shop that kind of does these like flat track racing bikes, but they don't limit it to flat track. They have this. I don't when I say rockabilly,
this is a whole subculture that
it's very
real.
It's actually very cool too.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't feel over kitschy. It actually feels like super legit. So the collaboration was this. It was basically them just doing I don't want to say documentary. They were documenting, definitely with style. Definitely from a cinematographer's approach. It was whatever. Yeah. It wasn't traditional. And the thing is,
wasn't a bunch of shoulder mount guys just following.
No, just a humongous apparatus on their front chest. No, it was chill. And the thing is, all it was documenting these guys who are part of this blitz motorcycle scene, wearing their jeans pretty much,
right,
and just going on this sort of like mountainous back trail, with these kinds of bikes, and just kind of documenting and I say documenting, like there was no narrator,
right? It
was just like, and then they stop off and jump skinny dip in the stream because they're dusty and dirty, and of course they're wringing out their jeans, and it's like, but of course it's Edwin, and it just looks like so rich,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like these guys they're camping with some kind of canvas tent with probably one wood pole sticking up the middle, or whatever the case is, and it's just like and they're so
I'm into it.
But I was just trying
maybe
to say
not the skinny dipping, but I'm into it.
And that's fine. Everybody has their own limits,
right? Well, we just found mine,
and that's why we're here. I consider this counseling. So what I saw with that was, though, is I was just like, that kind of collaboration, I was like, this is the best marketing collaboration. And all the concept is you get two like-minded products.
That's it. I love that.
That are together, and then you just watch
That's it.
them interact.
I mean, I love that. I mean, I think that's, I still believe that's a home run. I mean, I really believe that is a home run. And I think brands have to have more guts to say, yes, this is what we do. We give stuff away for free. Or we give stuff to people in the hope that they will wear it. People will see it.
No, I do it, but I was just thinking, like, as somebody who's a filmmaker like yourself, and I was even thinking these kids.
Yeah.
Right? I'll call them kids. I'm old enough now.
Yeah. You can.
But I'm like, dude, man, I want to just get like a piece of their trip. Like if they're going to do these house shows, because we're talking about them
and that's
doing
why,
these, like,
and that's why, as we were talking in the green room, how do you start with honesty in marketing and advertising, and then ultimately, I think a brand build? I was like, wait a minute, I got my boy Paycheck. You got Micah, one of his producers. You got Stafford Beats, great producer. Got Matthew Tucker, who has been kind of managing, organizing, like, this whole group. Matthew's a whole other crazy fun story. And I was like, okay, I would love for you guys to get on the road, because that's one thing they haven't done yet in their career, is go on the road. They're creating music. They're reaching millions of people. They're getting millions of streams and followers. But I was like, okay, do you want to go on the road? Let me get some of my friends who I know would really share. And this is where it gets interesting, right? I want to share with people like Synthrotech or Cass, or Yamaha, or I've gotten to know a guy named Peter Awad over at, or Awad, but all runs together on the Instagram handle. He's got a company called Mission Meats, makes us grass-fed, grass-finished, just the best meat sticks. They're just amazing. Okay,
I love meat sticks.
No nitrates, no fillers, no any of that junk. Like, it's and you eat it and you go, oh, this is actually what a meat stick should probably taste like. It's weird. You're like, oh, now I know why a Slim Jim.
I want a shirt that just says, this is what a meat stick should taste like.
Yeah.
I just want those words. Anyway,
Peter, you just got your new, this is what a meat stick should taste like.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is,
I said that, and that's real, so that's funny. But get those guys together. I know them, and say, hey, there's a group of people, next generation. And by the way, this is where that crossover into marketing, market space. People rarely define, what does marketing mean? What does advertising mean? What does brand mean? I'm like, marketing means market share. You're going after market share.
Okay, yeah.
And so why not get a young demo who has a market share of people following them, listening to them? And can I get behind a meat stick? Let's just stay on the meat stick. Of course I can. I love meat sticks.
I can. Can they be our first sponsor?
Maybe. I mean, in one sense.
They don't need to pay me much. They can pay me in meat sticks.
In meat sticks, right?
Yeah.
No, that's what makes this so great. Like, it's,
I want meat sticks.
And by the way, if you're on the road, and now this is where those things, this is where then you kind of become like the frat house sorority group, putting together the party, and you're looking for themes and connections and the solo cups, and they'll be matching, and the dresses and the bro shirts. Like, there's an element of like, wait a minute though, this is actually a great pairing, because if you're a creative, or if you're a sales rep and you're on the road, or if you're a band on the road, the worst part about your day is making bad decisions on food.
Yes, or drinking way too much.
Right. Once again, bad decision, right?
Yes.
So you get hungry. What do you reach for? You're on the road. You get, so, and if you're going high protein,
which we all want to be doing
which
more
we all
of.
kind of want to be doing.
Yes.
Like a meat stick, jerky, all that stuff. I mean, that's exploded in our culture.
I want way more packaged meat products. I'm sorry.
Yes.
But I want them because I need them.
I know. No, and that's...
I actually need them. That sounds funny, but I need more of that around me.
And you should pull up Mission Meats online. I don't know if your computer does that.
I'd like to, but now that my mouse has been used
exactly.
as
That's right. You can't touch anything. So Mission Meats, like, I'm talking with them, and just a good dude. Peter's a good dude, and he just wants to grow his company.
I think it works super well as like I said, why am I mentioning this one thing I saw versus,
right.
We see a piece of advertising.
Edwin. Why am I going to remember Edwin?
And why? And I don't remember that. I don't care about jeans, honestly. I like a nice pair of jeans, like the next guy. Yeah. I put my pants on one leg at a time.
Like the next guy.
Like every other guy out there. But
like
the thing
every
is,
other Edwin.
But what I'm saying is, like, there was something about, and I know this is a style. It doesn't have to be every style is like this. But when you said honesty about that, like, what I'm trying to say is I don't think about, like, hey, let me just put something in your space.
Right.
And to try to see how you're going to interact. How are you going to interact this? We don't even have to make it. This one was pretty curated. They're wearing the pants. Right. They're all wearing jeans the whole time. I don't know how many meat sticks you're going to have in a tour video. Right. But you're going to have some. But the thing is like,
going to be on the car driving. You're going to be pulling that meat stick. You're
It's a sword fight waiting to happen.
It's before a show. There's all these. It's like, but that's what. If you're on tour, like I said, if you're on tour, you're just making bad decision after bad decision.
You're right, and I want some protein.
You know what I mean? Which actually would be a great campaign. Like, if you're a rock band and you're on tour, you're going to make enough bad decisions and show every bad, like, immoral decision a band makes on the road. But don't let food be one of them.
Here's the visual for this, Darren. Let me give this to you. My brother, when he was in one of his bands growing up, my brother.
Is this your brother who's teaching, like,
theology,
lordship and theology?
He was my brother was a recording technician and producer for half of his life.
And he created Depeche Mode.
And he created a little band called Metallica.
Maybe you've heard of them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's obscure. Yeah. It's
We should throw that into the podcast. We should just always throw a couple lies in and just totally just straight faced. And just see, like.
Have you heard of a little company called Nabisco? Well, let me just tell you.
I invented the Post-it.
Yeah.
Name the movie that comes from.
Back in 1912. But
3M.
So one of his things he did at one of his shows was he took a packet of hot dogs. Maybe he saw this from somebody else. Who knows? This could be on Spinal Tap. I don't know that well. But he threw out hot dogs into the moshing crowd.
Right.
And then, on the ground, it was just some mashed. It was disgusting.
Yeah.
But it was a great visual.
Yeah.
I just want to say that.
Yeah.
So if what's your friend's name again? What's his meat sticks?
Peter at Mission Meats.
Mission Meats. I could see slow motion throwing meat sticks into the crowd.
Right.
You got to get a semi-attractive person to grab one and probably eat it, but a few on the ground getting in the mosh.
It's funny. I haven't even thought about throwing out the meat sticks. And now you've got me thinking, like, but let's get semi-serious for a minute. Why not? Here's the thing. This is what I love about branding and marketing and advertising. When you've got something that you really believe in, and it's like people eat that, why not compete for their attention if you think you've got a superior product? Maybe even a crappier product. But I'm just saying, why not compete and be like, look, who doesn't love going through Costco and getting samples? We all love free stuff. We all love free food. Why is it all of a sudden we don't want free stuff, or we talk about, oh, well, this campaign, they just because they gave them free jeans and motorcycles, they would never normally do this. What do you mean? People do things all the time, and they do them in jeans on motorcycles.
Well,
so why not own
it? Yeah. Well, and I think that's a good way to attack. That's a good way to attack marketing.
I'm watching that stuff.
Yeah,
too.
it's changing my battery. Okay, there it goes. Oh. Wait, no, it's still on. Hey,
wow. That. This is amazing.
I'm supposed to change it, but then it's going to be like, no.
Yeah.
Bleep, bleep, bleep. We've got some technology issues, but you know what about us? We don't care.
Because we're here for each other more than anything else.
More than anybody listening to this.
Right.
It's the hot air in the room.
Hey,
hand me a battery. Hold on a second.
I think I threw a battery here.
Yeah, give me a battery.
I got it ready. Look at that.
Because we can do this on the fly. So I want to see where you go with that. I guess.
Well, that's a great but see, I'm thinking so much about that lately, where it's like, no, we don't have to find some like the sort of pretense of. It's like, no. Hey, I know some guys, and they're really talented, and I want to help support them. And if I can get a few businesses behind them that also benefits their business, and it really is a natural fit, then what we're coming together to do. And what we're saying is we're here to all help each other and hopefully grow everyone's business here. To me, that's the future of marketing. Not we were so aligned. We were so aligned. We were. It's like okay, that's great, but it's like, look, I just haven't. I think we try. I wish we could go deeper on this, but I think you could force us to go deeper on this. There's something about when we have an idea as a creative. We try to then figure out how to justify it.
You mean like you've got a scene that in your mind and you're like, who can I sell that to? Or who can I put that in with their product?
Right. And we go, well, I need to somehow get on the altar of justification to make, well, I have this idea, and the reason why this idea works, and if we can do it in a very organic, natural, it's like, well, what if you just have an idea? That to me is sketching. Yeah. But when you sketch, it's fine. It's your sketchbook. I like to sketch in real time in the real world. And to me, that's what makes things really, really fun. It's like, I don't know why we have to think so deeply about the connections. It's like, if you have an idea, I think that'd be really cool.
No, it's fine. Where you're pushing, and again, I think that you have a degree in confidence in what you're doing. Like that confidence exudes, I think, into other people's space, which is awesome. I think that's actually that's like Jesus. I think it's good. I think it's a good quality, is what I'm trying to say. Like I think it's like, I think that he built up the people around him. I want to believe that.
I'm not even going to touch that one because it's going to be a funny soundbite if I jump in on this.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's good.
I'm like, yep, I'm just like Jesus.
I'm just like, yeah, let's just leave that one there. No, I'm saying it's Christ-like, I think, to want to build up other people around you. And I didn't have to theologicalize it. But I think that there's something about
your brother
that where
could. Your brother
he
could.
really could.
Yeah.
He's probably going to say I ruined some aspect of the
Right.
Trinity. But I'm saying really, and I think there's something, scenes in some way feels really self-protected versus again, it's not to blow smoke. It's to say you just go out there with these kids who you don't know that well.
Right.
And you're like, you're excited by their energy and the product they're doing. And you're just like, I'm going to hang out with them and learn about it. And it doesn't feel pretentious. It doesn't feel like it's jumping on a scene. In fact, this is very anti-scene.
Right.
It's more of trying to dig out like what exactly they're doing.
Right.
And trying to see how it's applicable for other people to help, but also just trying to wanting to be a part of it.
And then Paycheck's brother, who lives in Charlotte, came and joined us, and he's a pro golfer.
Of course he is.
And he was teaching, but now he's going to go back on the circuit because it takes a lot of money. And someone who he was coaching was like, you should go back on the circuit. I'll pay for it. Then we had that conversation. And I was learning about golf and the circuit and what does it cost and how much and who are the bottom 50 and what's that world and what are the economics around that. And I was just soaking that in.
So what's weirdo about, like I told you, one reason I moved out to here was because I didn't know many creatives out here. I knew a couple of knew Nate and Aaron from college.
Yep.
I'd watched some of the things you'd done just kind of peripherally.
Sure.
But I was like,
most people have.
I think I feel like peripherally. I saw something. I watched Collision. Like I loved it. It was great.
Did you watch it like out of the side of your like?
No,
like,
it was
you
that. It was
you didn't watch it head on.
It was
like,
not peripheral at all.
Right. It's a weird way to watch something.
It is. No, I'm just saying I couldn't avoid it.
Were you at a urinal and there was like a monitor?
It's a really weird.
Right, but that's the only way I could think to have to be forced to watch something.
Why is Collision on in the toilet again?
So weird on the wall.
But then I was like, hey man, I know people out in this small town who are doing cooler things than anybody I know in
Coolville.
In Coolville,
right?
Which Portland definitely was Coolville. I mean, I knew people doing things that people aren't doing out here, and some of the things were cool. But I wouldn't even say at the level. I would say like, some of it was insular, whatever the case, and I knew a lot of indie rock artists. I knew a lot of things, and the people were doing cool things. Don't get me wrong, but what I'm trying to say is, I feel like I'm like, dude, like people who are actually making legit movies about topics also that I'm interested in. But I would also say, authors that are successful, legitimately. I don't mean they're weird closeted homeschool way only. I will never take away from that market. By the way,
it's still pretty cool.
It's a great market.
That's kind of like that's like the SSD records.
Yeah, you want to be. Yeah. I really. Yeah, homeschool is the indie rock world I want to live in. Is the essence of indie rock.
Is the mineral.
But there's something about that. So I'm trying to say is also I don't need to get back into the personal life of some of these artists that you're talking about. But I'm just trying to say is, you got a brother who's a pro golfer.
Yeah, right.
And then you got a guy who's just like kind of really going for it.
Yeah.
I don't mean like kind of like I make beats. I mean, again, that sounds like you live in your mom's basement and you suck at life. Like, I mean, just trying to say, like, what do you do? Oh, I make beats. Yeah. Neat. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm a filmmaker. Neat. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Like these things don't necessarily have any, oftentimes they can make you sound like, I stream video games. I mean, some people do, and they make $1 million bucks a month.
Right.
What I'm trying to say is that's everybody's dream. It sounds like a pipe dream.
Right.
These people aren't that. No. These people are really going for it. So I'm trying to say is what do you think? Why? What is unique about these guys?
I think we are downstream from a lot of bad things that we've told kids. That being said, some of those things are true, but they're not true because people just said them as an Instagram quote, positive affirmation. It just so happens that the world has opened up in such a way where you can pretty much do whatever you want to do, right? So we've been giving participation trophies and telling people they can be whatever they want, and now they're actually changing and modifying their whole selves in such a way where they think they can be whatever they want. Be that as it may, though, we have told a couple generations now that you can be whatever you want to be. Now, that is so dangerous, but it's not dangerous to those who were already going to probably be motivated and had a work ethic. And then you bring the internet, and then you take away all the gatekeepers, and you put this, it's sort of like, I'm stealing this from someone, but when you're coaching 6, 7, and 8-year-olds, you can kind of will them into performance. You got this. You can do this. You can't really do it to a 30-year-old.
That's true.
Right? But you can kind of do it to a 7, 8-year-old. It's weird. But the 30-year-old, you really can't. And so so at a human conscious level, we've been yelling at these kids, you can do anything you want. And they can't really, but they kind of can. And then the world opened up, like I was saying, and there's no more gatekeepers, and they have access. And then they start working harder, and they start developing their skill set, and they start figuring things out. And so that jump start to this generation, for those who were already going to go ahead and work hard and grind, is unbelievably deadly and powerful and crazy. And these kids have tapped into it.
Yeah, but they've got a work ethic that is definitely, like you said, they've already willing to put the work in. I always go back to that. Like I'm like, I want my kids as young as possible to just know how to work hard,
right?
And be like okay with it. Like it's like we're doing leaves for 4 hours,
right?
It's just, okay.
Yeah,
and we're gonna do it with a good attitude,
right?
it's important, but I'm just saying, like, obviously, if you talk to 90% of 15-year-old men, maybe not 90,
Right.
but whatever, it's like, would you like to play Grand Theft Auto all day and get paid a lot of money to do it? They'd
Right.
probably be like, absolutely.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like people have the desire,
Sure.
because it's fun. But you get guys like this who are like, I mean, it's kind of weird to have a pro golfer and a guy who's kind of making in the music industry in one family. That's a little bit weird.
I know.
Or it's odd. So I mean, something have happened in the upbringing, and that's actually one of the things. Like, I've got a few friends actually here on a more personal level, a couple friends specifically who I want to see get out of sort of like I'm 20 to 23-year-old funk, where I'm not really doing anything, kind of maybe just paying the bills, not really motivated. Maybe there's a porn problem. Maybe there's a substance issue, kind of a thing, and it's just kind of like, but it's like, what do you do to get to the guy? This is totally different, of course. I'm not talking about anybody specifically anymore, but I'm like, what do you do with that guy who's got almost no energy?
I think it's paradigm built. Our paradigm solved. Maybe we'll end with this because we started a little bit later.
Yep.
We kind of make it 2:30 in town, but we'll end with this, and
we can do it,
and maybe it tees up something. I remember, so I believe people are mostly changed when they have a paradigm shift, not a verse. Oh, I read a verse shift.
Don't be lazy.
Right.
Okay.
Right. It rarely happens that way. Although it can. I remember I've been a Christian like less than a year. And I was backing out of my townhome where I was living, and that I've been backing out of for a year prior. I'd back out, and then I would look at the driveway that I'm now parallel with, and there's always a car there, the bumper sticker. And one day I just backed out. I'd been a Christian for a little bit, and I looked, and the bumper sticker said, "Abortion is murder." I was like, huh, it is, isn't it? Huh. Guess I'm pro-life.
You're just like, that's it.
Never
That's
thought
it.
Never thought about it. So it's rare. It does happen.
Sure.
But when there's a paradigm shift, and I've had two huge ones, like in a theological kind of worldview sense. One was, to keep it short, I remember I was reading a book, and the book said that it was about who are you as a man in your family. It was that subject and the responsibility and the role. And it said, Jesus Christ, all the sin in the world was not Jesus's fault, but he became responsible for it all. And you as the husband, with your wife and with your kids, you may not be at fault, best case scenario.
Right.
Let's just assume that.
Yeah, that'd be a nice one to assume.
Yep. But you're responsible. And I kid you not, I read that, and I just broke down crying. And for the first time in my life, especially as a Christian, I knew I had purpose. I had read something that was a paradigm. I was like, oh my gosh, I know what I'm here for now. The first being, I don't want to go to hell. I became a Christian. And the next moment, years later, was, oh my goodness, I now know I have a place here. And it's horrible, and it's going to break me, and this is way too big of a responsibility. But I knew now, like, oh, we have to be able to communicate. I think this is why we're here to save the world.
Yeah.
In more paradigm thinking than we do a verse pitch.
Yeah.
If we can communicate paradigm and who we are, I think we have a better chance of something really changing.
No, that's good. That's good. Well, we'll keep getting into that too, as far as like how to, how you communicate that to somebody, and obviously a lot of the Lord's in control.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, there's something about wanting to still motivate younger men. That's exciting to me.
There's the bumper sticker. God's going to do that, right?
Yep.
But then we are still called to communicate with people and somehow try to share and proclaim certain things. And I think how we do that matters.
Yeah, living it. I'm going to go with the bumper sticker approach, just walking away from this, because I feel like I need more bumper stickers.
Okay.
And I feel like that was my bumper sticker moment today, was that I need more bumper stickers.
Right. So, and you're going to meet Stafford, and we're going to talk Synthro Tech, and we're going to get some cool stuff going.
Yeah, we're going to make some beats.
There we go.
All right.